President's article+Strong pet+Cute treasure+World feud+Family grudges+Pure love between male and female leads+Little abuse+Fighting against fake mistresses. She is a destitute young lady from Bincheng. Her mother is paralyzed, and her father even conspired with the mistress to sell her. He is the young master of the White Half City in Bincheng, with a rebellious personality and known as the White King of Hell. He survived a car accident but broke his leg. She wants to save herself, he wants to uncover the truth from back then. The entanglement between the two people, who are not related to Feng Ma Niu, started from the car accident that disabled him 2 years ago. Why do I like you? Why did I get to know you? As long as I still have a breath, I won't forget you. Chapter 1. I will not marry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I won't marry even in death. Lin Bai stood in the living room of the Lin family, his voice spitting on ice. She had a cold and indifferent expression, and her cold and dust-free eyes looked at the man and woman standing in front of her, disgusted for a moment. Ancestor, Dad begged you to save the Lin family. Now only you can save the Lin family. Lin Jingtian saw the disgust in Lin Bai's eyes and wanted to get angry, but now he had to beg Lin Bai, but he didn't care. Yeah, bye, I beg you too. As long as you agree, Boss Xie agrees to transfer the money immediately. You can get engaged first and hold your wedding after graduating from college. Tang Qiuxia beside Lin Jingtian was patient and slowly persuading. Lin Bai looked up at the woman speaking and her father Lin Jingtian, who were conspiring so quickly to sell her. If you don't marry, whoever wants to marry will marry. Lin Bai felt angry in his heart, and his eyes filled with anger shot directly at the two of them. Behind the man and woman hung a family portrait, in which the three of them had happy smiles, only she, with a solemn face. White. Tang Qiuxia still wanted to speak, but was caught by Lin Bai's sharp gaze and her words stuck in her throat. Tang Qiuxia groaned inwardly, knowing from the beginning that things wouldn't go smoothly. If there's nothing else, I'll go back to my room first. Lin Bai's tone was sparse and cold, with a bright mockery on his face. Lin Bai. Lin Jingtian looked at his daughter's face and couldn't help but feel angry. Jingtian. Tang Qiuxia spoke softly to stop. Don't make things difficult for the child. Lin Jingtian tried to hold back his anger. If possible, he would never do this. Thinking of this, Lin Jingtian's face turned slightly pale and he sat back on the sofa, turning his head away from anyone, taking out a lighter and silently smoking. Lin Jingtian knew that with his daughter's personality, he needed to find another time to persuade her. Lin Bai sneered at the corner of her mouth, and it was this move again. She was not small, she had already seen through it. Lin Bai stepped out of his slender legs and went straight up to the second floor. When Lin Bai's figure disappeared at the corner, Tang Qiuxia's eyes flashed with a hint of obvious malice. Mom, what kind of family do you consider? Mom, how does our Lin family specialize in raising white-eyed wolves? It's of no use at all when it's crucial. Lin Yan'an turned out of the room on the first floor, watching as Lin Bai disappeared, with jealousy and hatred clearly visible in her eyes. In fact, she could see the whole process clearly. You can't say that about sister. Tang Qiuxia saw Lin Jingtian's face slightly change as she turned around and stopped drinking Lin Yan'an. Lin Yan'an looked at the hint in Tang Qiuxia's eyes and his father Lin Jing's face, which was even darker in the dark. He snorted, pressed the automatic button on the wheelchair, and went to the restaurant on his own. Lin Yan'an knew from a young age that his father still loved Lin Bai the most. He could do anything to Lin Bai, but he couldn't let her and Tang Qiuxia treat Lin Bai slowly. If it weren't for his broken leg, he probably would have said these words to her now. Thinking of this, Lin Yan'an's back teeth were almost shattered, but he felt proud again when he remembered that he had benefited from misfortune. Jing Tian, don't blame Xiao Bai. She's still a child. If she doesn't want to, it's okay. The Lin family may go bankrupt, and I don't mind going through hardships with you. Tang Qiuxia sat gently beside to comfort, but every word hit Lin Jingtian's heart, making him even more melancholic. But now Lin Bai is the only way he can think of it. Lin Bai returned to his room, and his phone in his pocket rang for a while. He took out his phone and found several new messages. Except for my classmate's best friend Jiang Yanyan, the rest were all sent from early Tang dynasty. The last line is, "Bye-bye, I am waiting for your reply." Lin Bai sighed in his heart, pressed it down, and opened Jiang Yanyan's language. "Bye-bye, you dare not even ask for leave from Professor Lin's class, is something wrong with Auntie? Our dance team is having a dinner tonight. Are you coming?" Jiang Yanyan grew up with her from a young age and was her close friend and classmate. She has always had a straightforward personality and is clear about Lin Bai's affairs. Lin Bai remembered his father Lin Jingtian's words just now and felt a sense of sadness in his heart. Once upon a time, he still loved her father very much. Now, in order to save his company, he wants to sell his daughter through blind marriage. Lin Bai still felt a dull pain in his heart. He placed his hand on his chest and lay in bed, closing his eyes to take a nap. At this moment, she doesn't think about anything. As the afternoon approached, the scorching weather began to gradually pick up a hint of wind, and the cicadas outside the window sounded like a life-threatening talisman, enveloping the forest mansion. Lin Bai wore a white long dress, with skin as smooth as cream. When she walked downstairs, she had a warm jade-like luster. Lin Jingtian is no longer at home. Tang Qiuxia and Lin Yan'an are sitting on the sofa chatting. Lin Yan'an's voice is coquettish with Tang Qiuxia, looking not at all arrogant. Lin Bai didn't look at them and went out directly, with Lin Yan'an's sarcastic voice coming from behind. "Mom, look, some people have eyes on their heads, and when they see their elders, they don't know how to shout out. There's no tutor." Lin Bai stood still, turned around, his gaze slightly cold. At the sight of Lin Bai, Lin Yan'an felt a sense of emptiness in his heart and stopped talking, but his chest stood tall, as if this could make him more imposing than Lin Bai. Since Tang Qiuxia and her son entered the Lin family, Lin Bai has had a few arguments with Lin Jingtian. Lin Jingtian's voice was heavy and the sound was gentle, but Tang Qiuxia and her son still lived in the Lin family. Lin Bai grew older and realized a truth. If there was a difficult situation that could not be directly solved, he remained silent. But silence does not mean indulgence. Lin Bai never conflicts head-on with them, but each time they learn a lesson. Gradually, Tang Qiuxia no longer dares to provoke Lin Bai, but Lin Yan'an always recovers her scars and forgets the pain. The more she loses, the braver she becomes. "Do you know why I keep calling you Yan'an?" Lin Bai's tone was slightly cold. Although he said Lin Yan'an, his eyes were looking at Tang Qiuxia. "Because in my eyes, you don't deserve to be surnamed Lin." Tang Qiuxia's face changed color. Lin Yan'an was so excited that he almost jumped up and cursed directly. "Lin Bai, you scoundrel, stinky bitch, you're not qualified to have the surname Lin." If her feet can, then she must have already jumped up. Lin Yan'an is most afraid of others discussing her surname. In fact, before the age of 7, she had never seen her father. She and Tang Qiuxia, surnamed Tang, are often ridiculed as wild seeds by others. Tang Qiuxia's face also darkened. She was not as easily seduced as Lin Yan'an. She had always been able to maintain the image of the female protagonist of the Lin family, and even treated Lin Bai better than her own daughter Lin Yan'an in front of outsiders. "Yan'an, don't say that to sister." Tang Qiuxia's displeasure was only a fleeting moment. "Bye-bye, Yan'an is in a bad mood. Don't blame her." Tang Qiuxia's words were gentle and soft, and she even smiled to explain to Lin Yan'an. Tang Qiuxia made Lin Bai feel nauseous like this. Lin Jingtian was blinded by her appearance as a little lamb. After his wife was paralyzed, He knew she could no longer fulfill his wife's obligations and directly led this woman into the Lin family. That's enough of the matter here. Lin Bai no longer wasted his breath and went straight out the door. Not long after she left the yard, she heard a crisp and pleasant sound of cups hitting the ground. Lin Bai smiled slightly, and there was no need to argue with her. Not long after she left, Tang Qiuxia personally smashed her favorite cup. Chapter 2. Commitment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The school gathering was scheduled at the bar, and when Jiang Yanyan pulled Lin Bai into the private room, Lin Bai's eyebrows were still furrowed. She dislikes noise the least. The music is deafening and everything is noisy. Jiang Yanyan really likes it. She talks to Lin Bai at the top of her throat and starts twisting her hips to follow the rhythm of the music as soon as she enters the door. Jiang Yanyan is a dancer who dances effortlessly. When other classmates see her, they automatically form a circle and applaud loudly. Jiang Yanyan was surrounded in the middle, with a light figure and twisted like a water snake. Today, she was dressed sexy, attracting everyone's attention. Lin Bai comes one, Lin Bai comes one. The crowd began to roar, and Lin Bai smiled and waved his hand. But everyone was too enthusiastic, and she no longer hesitated. She performed a short startled dance, and the atmosphere of the whole room was pushed to its peak. Lin Bai is the pillar of the dance department at the school. He was admitted to Bincheng University with the first-place score. He is pure and beautiful, and has been a prominent figure at Bincheng University for 3 years. Lin Bai's movements ended, and before he could finish, he was pulled out of the private room by Jiang Yanyan. You really don't plan to go abroad with Tang Chu a week later? How rare this opportunity is. Jiang Yanyan pulled her to a quiet corner and asked anxiously. You're not unaware of my family's situation. Lin Bai tugged at the corner of her mouth, feeling a bit disheartened, and then told Jiang Yanyan exactly what her father said to her this afternoon. What, you're such a jerk. Jiang Yanyan was angry and was about to continue speaking when she suddenly saw the person behind Lin Bai. She closed her mouth and pouted at Lin Bai. Here, you guys have a good conversation first. After speaking, he turned around and disappeared without a trace. Lin Bai looked at Jiang Yanyan's reaction and seemed to have a premonition. He turned his head and saw Tang Chu. In the early Tang dynasty, she wore a white shirt on her top and a casual brown suit pants below, clean like a white lotus flower. Standing not far away, her face was tense, but she smiled softly at the corners of her mouth, panting slightly, and her eyes fixed on her. Tang Chu was so excellent and beautiful, how could I deserve him? Lin Bai felt bitter in his heart. Why didn't you reply to my message? Tang Chu walked slowly over, exhaled slowly, and placed his hands on Lin Bai's shoulders. Lin Bai pursed his lips, remained silent, and lowered his head slightly. As I said, I will handle Auntie's matter. Tang Chu knew about Lin Bai's family situation and had also visited Lin Bai's mother in the hospital. Your mother wouldn't agree with you doing this. Lin Bai spoke bitterly, and this fact has been troubling her since the first time he took her home in the early Tang dynasty. Tang Chu took her home for the first time. Tang Chu's mother showed enthusiasm in front of Tang Chu and her, but as soon as Tang Chu walked away, she warned her not to expect any results with her son. Lin Bai is not sure about this situation. Did Tang Chu know about it? My father has left me a lot of money. Even if my mother opposes, I will definitely be able to take you with me. Tang Chu let go of Lin Bai's shoulder with one hand and touched her delicate face with a smile. Her skin was as tender as a fine piece of jade. I have already contacted the schools abroad, and as long as we go there, we can start school immediately. Lin Bai, believe me, I can definitely take care of you. If the domestic medical care is not good, wait for us to settle down overseas and take care of Auntie as well. Let's take care of her together. In the early Tang dynasty, there was a deep affection for each other, and in his eyes was a beautiful longing for the future. Lin Bai was swept into a vortex by the sincerity in Tang Chu's eyes, and in almost an instant, she decided to be brave once. Okay. Lin Bai agreed. Great. Tang Chu hugged Lin Bai tightly, his hands trembling with excitement and said, "You really agreed." Lin Bai hid in Tang Chu's arms and nodded, her eyes flashing through the colorful lights in the hallway. At this moment, she decided to believe Tang Chu. The private room was still bustling with excitement. When Lin Bai and Tang Chu appeared hand in the private room, it caused a sensation, and the female classmates were envious in their eyes. Tang Chu has always been the dream lover of many girls at Binhai University. In the early Tang dynasty, let's have a drink. Qiu Yong came over to invite Tang Chu for a drink. Many people know about Tang Chu's departure, so this is probably his last time attending a school gathering. But Tang Chu looked at Lin Bai with unease. Alright, dream lovers from all over the world can't fly for nothing, I'll help you watch. Jiang Yanyan smiled and joked. Both of them were a bit embarrassed when Jiang Yanyan said it. Go ahead, drink less. Lin Bai was afraid that Jiang Yanyan would say more inappropriate things, so he smiled and pushed Tang Chu. That's right, you all have your own reputation, why don't you comfort me as a single dog for thousands of years? Qiu Yong also came over to joke. He and Tang Chu were classmates for many years, and it can be said that they have witnessed their journey from scratch to the present. Okay, let's go home together later. Tang Chu smiled and let go of Lin Bai's hand. Yo yo yo. More people cheered in their ears, with Qiu Yong's voice being the loudest. Watching Qiu Yong pull him away in the early Tang dynasty. Lin Bai quickly pulled Jiang Yanyan over and the two of them sat on the sofa in the corner. It seems that you have been convinced by Tang Chu. Jiang Yanyan smiled and handed Lin Bai a glass of orange juice, as she guessed from the moment they walked in hand. Lin Bai nodded and responded, looking relieved, as if a heavy burden had finally been lifted and the person had become cheerful. Bye, you should have been like this a long time ago. I don't even understand why you refused at first. Tang Chu is the most perfect partner for girls, rich and beautiful, and most importantly, good figure. He is also devoted to you. Bye, you've made a lot of money. Jiang Yanyan furrowed her brows and eyes, picked up her beer, and confidently finished it all in one breath. Drink slowly. Lin Bai smiled and took a sip of the orange juice, the sweet taste spreading in his mouth, very sweet. Do you know that I heard the Bai family is going to turn the tables? Sun Miao beside him started talking about gossip again. In Lin Bai's eyes, Sun Miao was either talking about gossip or on the path of gossip. What day are you flipping? Jiang Yanyan asked urgently. Lin Bai noticed that Jiang Yanyan seemed very nervous. Don't you know? Sun Miao, who was sitting next to Jiang Yanyan, widened his eyes. I heard that Bincheng is almost hopeless. How could it be? Jiang Yanyan was shocked and tugged at Sun Miao's hand. Isn't he already good? Sun Miao was clearly frightened by Jiang Yanyan and stuttered. I just called my mom and she told me that the Bai family is currently looking for girls everywhere and wants to bring joy to Bai Zhishan. Jiang Yanyan's abnormality startled Lin Bai, but Lin Bai couldn't help but frown when he heard the words, Chengxi. What era is it, still believe in this? But, Bai Yan Mountain. She seemed to have heard of this name somewhere and couldn't remember it for a moment. Bye, I need to hurry home. Jiang Yanyan was frantically searching for her handbag on the sofa. Here. Sun Miao was very discerning and handed the bag to Jiang Yanyan. Chapter 3. Delivery. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'll see you off. Lin Bai looked at Jiang Yanyan's restless expression and felt uneasy. No need, I called a substitute driver myself. Jiang Yanyan didn't even allow Lin Bai to leave the door. Jiang Yanyan left, leaving a space in the middle, and Sun Miao's buttocks moved over. Lin Bai, what's wrong with Jiang Yanyan? She's so excited. When Sun Miao asked, there was a strong smell of gossip in his eyes. Who is Baizhen Mountain? Lin Bai didn't answer the rhetorical question. You don't even know about Baizhen. Sun Miao was so surprised that everyone seemed to be right. Lin Bai really didn't care about anything except dancing. The Bai family in Binbei, the legendary White Half City, has great power, and all the girls in Bincheng want to marry him. Sun Miao excitedly gave Lin Bai a lecture, and the more he spoke, the more excited he became. What a mess, it's not from ancient times. Lin Bai's eyes are even more confused. Sun Miao knew at a glance that Lin Bai really didn't care about the business and politics of Bincheng. Binjiang Technology, Binjiang Industry, and many other industries are all surnamed Bai. Not only in Binjiang, but also in the whole country. It is said that there are industries owned by the Bai family, and their strength is so weak that it is inhumane. Sun Miao talked endlessly, talking about what she heard when her father chatted with his mother while eating. Lin Bai smiled and clearly showed no interest. Sun Miao saw that Lin Bai didn't have a cold yet and became enthusiastic, saying, or to put it bluntly, half of our teaching resources at Bincheng University are donated by their family, such as Bai Jinyan Experimental Building. Lin Bai suddenly remembered the name Bai Jinyan, who was an honorary director of Binjiang University. Bing Dog, you're right. Bai Jinyan is the grandfather of Bai Jishan, and he's a legendary figure of his generation. Sun Miao also talked a lot, and Lin Bai had a rough understanding of what kind of presence the Bai family is in Bincheng. Simply put, it is equivalent to Samsung's commercial influence in South Korea. Lin Bai looked at the way Sun Miao kept talking. She had heard Jiang Yanyan say that Sun Miao's family was also a famous wealthy businessman in Bincheng who had been engaged in business for generations. No wonder she knew so much. The Jiang and Bai families of Yan have heard that they got married several generations ago. Sun Miao thought of Jiang Yanyan's recent reaction and lowered her voice, leaning in Lin Bai's ear. My mother heard my aunt's mother-in-law say that it seems that the Bai family intends to choose a marriage alliance with the Jiang family in the youngest generation. Judging from Yan Yan's situation, the one she wouldn't choose is the dying Bai Dianshan. Jiang Yanyan's fiery reaction, Sun Miao felt that this explanation was the most reasonable. If that's the case, Yan Yan would be too unlucky. Sun Miao was frightened by this idea. Sun Miao, don't talk nonsense, it's not good to be misunderstood. Lin Bai said lightly. Sun Miao knew that she was saying an unconfirmed message like this. If it were to be spread, it would be found that it was vomited from her mouth, and her father would probably have to break her leg. Sun Miao stuck out his tongue, and the next conversation with Lin Bai was all about professional knowledge of dancing. Lin Bai chatted with Sun Miao, but his heart began to worry about what Sun Miao had said. Lin Bai and Jiang Yanyan have been classmates since childhood in kindergarten, but Jiang Yanyan rarely mentions her family's affairs, so she actually doesn't know much about Jiang Yanyan's family situation. On the other hand, because Tang Qiuxia often acts as a demon after arriving at the Lin family, Jiang Yanyan knows her family very well. Lin Bai's concern persisted until the end of the party, reaching its peak when he repeatedly called Jiang Yanyan and received no answer. Is there really something wrong? Lin Bai anxiously dialed repeatedly. Tang Chu drank and half of his body was pressed against Lin Bai's body. His eyebrows seemed to have been dyed with rouge, and he watched as Lin Bai frantically made phone calls and reached out to touch her head. Jiang Yanyan is an adult. She said she's going home today. Maybe it's just that there's something at home and she doesn't have time to check her phone. Don't worry. Tang Chu's comfort calmed Lin Bai's heart a bit. She glanced at Tang Chu, who was pinching his forehead, and frowned, indicating that he had been drinking a lot. I'll take you home. Lin Bai took the key from Tang Chu's pocket and felt the slightly hot muscles under Tang Chu's fabric, his face turning slightly red. White. At the beginning of Tang Dynasty, Lin Bai's hand touched him, and his eyes deepened. He looked at Lin Bai affectionately, his head slightly leaning over. Lin Bai looked at the gradually magnified Tang Chu, so nervous that he forgot to react. As they were about to touch their lips, a pleasant bell rang. Lin Bai woke up in shock and pushed Tang Chu, who almost stumbled and fell under his seat. I'm sorry. Lin Bai used all his strength to lift the person up and put them on the passenger seat, and Tang Chu seemed to have fallen asleep. Tang Dynasty, wake up, phone. Lin Bai patted Tang Chu's face, and Tang Chu shook his hand like a fly, leaning against the back of the chair with his head slightly tilted, truly falling asleep. The bell kept ringing non-stop, and Lin Bai saw a flicker in Tang Chu's pocket. Lin Bai sighed, wanting to wait for his phone to stop on its own, but it seemed like it wouldn't stop, constantly arguing and sleeping. Lin Bai had no choice but to lean over and pick up his phone. After finally getting her phone and seeing the caller ID on the screen, Lin Bai felt nervous again. She prepared mentally for a while and answered the call when it was about to end. Auntie. The person across from seemed stunned when they heard the girl's voice. Who are you? The woman's voice was slightly cold. Auntie, I'm Lin Bai. The phone is quiet over there. Where's Achu? Today at the school gathering, he had a drink and I'm driving him back now. Lin Bai's voice was gentle and appropriate, as if he didn't even recognize the cold tone of the person in front of him. That end fell silent again. Okay, thank you for your hard work. The phone hung up, and Lin Bai took a deep breath. Tang's mother didn't like Lin Bai very much. Lin Bai turned her head to look at Tang Chu beside her. She liked Tang Chu, his warm smile, and his affectionate eyes when playing the violin. She had been in a relationship with her for almost 2 years, and most notably, she hugged and held hands with her. In the early Tang Dynasty, he was perfect. Even when he was drunk now, he didn't go crazy and behaved like a sleeping child. Alcohol couldn't stimulate him to maintain a good upbringing that had been ingrained in his bones. Lin Bai silently watched for a moment, started the car, and drove out of the clubhouse. In the 3rd month of their relationship, Tang Chu took Lin Bai back to the Tang family to meet his parents. Tang Chu said that since he believed that Lin Bai would be the person he would spend his entire life with, his mother had the right to know that he had a girlfriend and would not arrange blind dates for him in the future. In the early Tang Dynasty, it was so moving. Lin Bai drove the car to the Tang family's doorstep, familiar with the road. Perhaps it was because Xiao Yunji had already signaled in advance that the big guard at the door opened it in one go. Lin Bai's car stopped in the yard and saw Xiao Yunji standing on the doorstep with a male servant, clearly waiting for a while. The male servant didn't wait for Xiao Yunji to greet him, so he took the initiative to run up and open the car door to help Tang Chu. Xiao Yunji was wearing a blue plain qipao, and under the night light, Lin Bai saw the exquisite makeup on her face, which made her extremely noble. Lin Bai stepped forward, and Xiao Yunji looked at him from top to bottom with a detached and arrogant gaze. That aggressive gaze was very uncomfortable. Lin Bai felt as if he had been stripped naked and looked at his whole body, feeling nauseous. Chapter 4. Difficulties. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Miss Lin. Xiao Yunji noticed that Lin Bai's face was not good and felt satisfied. He pulled a smile that didn't look like a smile. I remember when you came last time, I said that the Tang family has a very picky eye when it comes to choosing their daughter.in.law. Not only does it depend on their appearance, but their parents' conditions are also very strict. Lin Bai opened his mouth slightly, recalling the words that Xiao Yunji had previously secretly investigated her from Tang Chu and had said to her without mercy. Because of that incident, she deliberately distanced herself from Tang Chu for a period of time, but Xiao Yunji clearly underestimated her son's feelings for Lin Bai. Tang Chu was crying and begging for Lin Bai, but Lin Bai's heart softened before the two continued to be together. Auntie, I remember. Lin Bai hooked her lips, and the girl looked like a dustless fairy under the night light, beautiful and unreal, but every word in her mouth was so powerful. Tang Chu and I fell in love with each other. He didn't want us to separate, and I didn't want to leave him either. So, Auntie, I just ignored your words. She is a girl with a personality. Xiao Yunji's delicate face was slightly stunning, but what could happen? After all, their status was vastly different. Xiao Yunji absolutely did not allow his proud son to marry a woman who was so much lower than his own family. Miss Lin, it's been a year since we last met. Not only has she become eloquent, but she also has a lot of courage. Lin Bai's face turned pale when he heard her unpleasant words last time, and he dared not even speak up. This time, he dared to refute her words. It had only been a short year, and he didn't expect Lin Bai's confidence to be so strong. I shouldn't have listened to her mother-in-law for a long time. When Tang Chu gets tired of it for a long time, he will break up. There's no need to worry about the family's hands, so that he doesn't find out and have a grudge against his mother. She should have taken action early to nip Tang Chu's emotions towards Lin Bai in the bud. Now that time has passed, it may be difficult to handle. What a hassle. Xiao Yunji frowned, feeling remorseful. She felt that there was no more room left this time. Miss Lin, this is the first time I've met you. When I saw you dressed, I could tell at a glance that you and a Chu are not from the same world. Being with people from vastly different backgrounds will not lead to good results. Miss Lin's family is well known to me, and her annual income is roughly the same as our driver's. Perhaps at first, you could still rely on love to sustain yourself, but marriage is only managed by the illusory thing of love, which is very ridiculous. Cinderella, the drama of marrying into a wealthy family may happen frequently, but there is still a difference between TV dramas and reality. The delusion of using love to lead two vastly different families is simply a pipe dream. Xiao Yunji stood on the steps, looking up at Lin Bai. His words sounded very reasonable on the surface, but his tone did not conceal his disdain for Lin Bai's delusion of climbing the Tang family's high branch. Similar to the reality of Xiao Yunji's words, Lin Bai had already asked herself before agreeing to Tang Chu, but she chose to believe and trust Tang Chu. Auntie, who can say for sure about emotions? I made a bet with myself before promising Tang Chu that he would never betray me in this life. Lin Bai has always been proud. When she finished saying these words with a smile, she was inexplicably confident. Even if she stood at the foot of the steps, her smile was perfect and appropriate, especially her almond eyes, so beautiful that people dared not look directly at her. What can be said for sure in this world? Perhaps Tang Chu's feelings for me can only last for a month, a year, or 10 years, but as long as I want it, I dare to bet. Winning the bet will bring me love, and losing the bet will make me willing to accept my fate and have no worries with heaven. But if you act in the middle, I just need to tell Tang Chu that with his current feelings for me, it may be possible to directly break away from the mother-son relationship with you. Xiao Yunji's mouth twitched slightly. Lin Bai really opened her eyes today. It's been a long time since anyone dared to talk to her like this. Not only that, but Lin Bai's beauty also amazed her today. But what about this? If it's just her beauty, Lin Bai is definitely qualified to be Mrs. Tang's daughter-in-law. But if the Tang family only values this, it's probably not Lin Bai's turn. With such a family background, the Tang family has never seen any beautiful girls. Miss Lin, confidence is a good thing, but being too confident is arrogance. I am still trying to persuade you well. If you don't listen, then don't blame me for not showing mercy to you in the future. The world is unpredictable, who loses and who wins in the end, who knows? The blush at the corner of Lin Bai's mouth stimulated Xiao Yunji's sneer. She seemed too lazy to talk to Lin Bai anymore and turned around to enter the door directly. The door of the Tang family was tightly closed in front of Lin Bai. The confrontation between Mrs. Tang and her ended at the moment the door closed, and the outside began to quiet. Lin Bai clenched her fist, and when she let go, her face warmed up. Even if there was such a difficult mother-in-law in the future, she would be stronger than the person her father was going to marry her to today, whom she completely didn't know. The Tang family is located in Binbei, a wealthy area where it is difficult to take a taxi even during the day, let alone as midnight approaches. Lin Bai glanced at the car in the early Tang dynasty and tugged at the corner of her mouth. If she pretended to be aloof and walked away directly, it would be too foolish. She didn't want her worn feet to delay tomorrow's dance class. Lin Bai got into the car directly, and after starting, he stepped on the accelerator and drove the car out of the Tang family. The engine sound of vehicles outside was clearly heard by Xiao Yunji from the second-floor window. Not only that, she also saw the vehicles gradually disappearing after a puff of smoke. Her eyes twitched and she let out a cold snort. Lin Bai was still very individualistic, at least not artificial, which was stronger than the girls who used to seduce Tang dynasty girls. When Lin Bai was on the road, he finally received a call from Jiang Yanyan. "Bye-bye, I'm going to die." Jiang Yanyan's voice was weak and lifeless, like a fish on the brink of death, with a lingering aura. "What's wrong?" Lin Bai became nervous, and Jiang Yanyan suddenly walked away. "Now there's this ghostly look on the phone. Come to my house today to accompany me, I'm afraid you won't see me tomorrow." Lin Bai breathed a sigh of relief. Being able to speak like this indicates that nothing major has happened. "Okay, wait for me." Jiang Yanyan reported the address. Lin Bai navigated again and went to Zhang's house. The Jiang family lives in the famous Bincheng water garden in Bincheng. Every inch of land here is precious, and the problem is that the people living here are either rich or expensive. Many new people want to move in, but unfortunately there is a price but no market. Jiang Yanyan greeted her in advance, and the guard was very polite and allowed her to pass directly. When Lin Bai's car drove in, she saw the guard behind her salute her car, standing tall and not inferior to the soldiers in the army. Lin Bai thought to himself, the Jiang Yanyan family is indeed as wealthy and prestigious as the Sun Miao family. Jiang Yanyan's eyes were swollen, standing at the door to pick up Lin Bai. The driver of the Jiang family had already been waiting next to him, wearing a suit and tie, with a standard smile as Lin Bai got off the car and a humble attitude. "Miss Lin, give me your car and I will help you park it." Lin Bai saw this scene for the first time, and although surprised, he still smiled and got off the car. Chapter 5. Comfort. You are listening at novelfull.audio. White. Seeing Lin Bai, Xiao Yanyan, who had already controlled her tears, actually grinned and started crying again. She hugged Lin Bai and leaned her head against his shoulder. Lin Bai immediately felt that his shoulder was already wet. "Why are you crying again?" When Qianwei heard the sound and quickly ran out of the house. "Who is this?" "I was a bit puzzled when I saw Xiao Yanyan holding a girl." "Hello auntie, I am Lin Bai, Yanyan's classmate." Lin Bai greeted Jiang Yanyan and Wen Rose, who were crying and giggling. "So it's White." When Qianwei was dressed in a soft-colored dress, a pair of short-heeled beige leather shoes, and her hair was slightly curled up. She dressed in a young and intellectual way, and it seemed that she had been educated by a prestigious lady since childhood. "Yan Yan talks about you at home every day." When Qianwei smiled as the girl in her eyes stood with her own daughter, not inferior at all. Instead, she had a calmness that Jiang Yanyan did not have. "Yan Yan, what do you mean? Take the guests in quickly." When Qianwei looked at her daughter holding on to Lin Bai and didn't let go, feeling a bit reproachful. Jiang Yanyan reluctantly let go of Lin Bai, who looked delicate. She wiped her tears with her hands, causing Wen Rose to frown. Her daughter is really becoming less and less like a lady as she is raised. Jiang Yanyan didn't care, she set aside her mother, pulled Lin Bai, and went directly to her room. The room was in a princess style and had a large space. Lin Bai looked around and saw that it was as big as his own 2 rooms. Jiang Yanyan pulled Lin Bai onto the bed and began to sigh. Lin Bai didn't rush either. She knew that Jiang Yanyan couldn't help but speak first. Sure enough, 1 minute later, Jiang Yanyan couldn't help it anymore. Bye-bye, I'm going to marry the Bai Zhishan that Sun Miao mentioned today. Although Lin Bai heard Sun Miao's words and had a 20% guess in his heart, he was still surprised to receive confirmation from Jiang Yanyan's mouth. Sun Miao said he's dying soon. Lin Bai is even more worried than his father about marrying him to a cripple. My grandfather and grandpa Bai booked a doll wedding for us in the early years. Jiang Yanyan pouted and tilted her head, seeming very frustrated and helpless. Lin Bai was taken aback for a moment. He didn't expect that in this era, there would still be people who would marry a child. But Bai Zhishan is almost dead. Do you still want to get married like this? Lin Bai is absolutely unreasonable. Isn't that right? I've been crying all night, and my grandfather doesn't even let go. He even said I'm not sensible. The Jiang family has always had strict family discipline and attaches great importance to reputation, especially Mr. Jiang, who always speaks with great authority. In his opinion, even if Bai Zhishan dies now, Jiang Yanyan will still have a wedding with him. The Bai family found someone to calculate the dates and said that Bai Zhishan and I have a good match in our 8 characters. After getting married, he may not need to take medicine to recover from his illness. Hee. Lin Bai's lips were filled with sarcasm, and what she said was really similar to what her father Lin Jingtian told her today. If one can rely on this for illness, then the profession of a doctor can disappear. Lin Bai now understands Jiang Yanyan very well. Even in today's society where gender equality is advocated everywhere, women are still in a disadvantaged position. So what do you plan to do? Lin Bai didn't know if the Jiang family would really push her daughter into the pit of fire, but she walked in to see Jiang Yanyan's mother, seemingly unaffected by this incident. Does Auntie also care? Mrs. Jiang looks like Lin Bai's mother, gentle, beautiful, knowledgeable and reasonable, unlike someone who doesn't care about her daughter. My mother has always been democratic, and of course she is on my side. She said that even in the old days when I had a similar relationship with Bai Zhishan, she did not agree for me to marry him. Moreover, now we have met each other no more than 3 times from childhood to adulthood, and I don't know if he is round or flat now. How could we possibly marry him? Jiang Yanyan probably just cried and tired. She took a ointment from the drawer to apply to her eyes, lay down, tore it open, and directly applied it to her eyes. Her movements were done in one go, without any signs of excessive sadness. My parents absolutely disagree with the Bai family's marriage. Jiang Yanyan had a determined tone. Then you cried so sadly. Lin Bai looked at Jiang Yanyan and had some thoughts to apply to her eyes. It didn't seem really sad. Crying for my grandparents to see, they rushed over overnight, afraid I wouldn't refuse and afraid I would run away. Jiang Yanyan listened to Lin Bai's silence for a long time, knowing that she was worried, and turned to comfort her. Bye, I'm fine. My dad will be back tomorrow, and he's just my daughter. He can't bear to marry me and become a widow. Lin Bai felt relieved after listening and thought of his father, with a slightly sad expression on his face. Bye, it's you. Is your father really going to sell you for the company's sake? Jiang Yanyan and the other 2 were interrupted by Tang Chu in the clubhouse and continued to ask. My dad's company had a problem and he was in a hurry to use money. The son of one of his partners came to my house last time to see me and said he fell in love with me at first sight. This time, my dad's business had problems, so he came to see him and said he would help our family get through this crisis when I got married. Lin Bai's face turned cold, and he didn't appear to have much blood under the light. What a jerk. Jiang Yanyan tugged at the eye ointment and sat up. How could he do this? Jiang Yanyan was filled with righteous indignation, and her face turned red with anger. She knows that Lin Bai's family had a car accident when he was 8 years old, and his lower body was completely paralyzed. He has been living in a nursing home ever since. Don't worry about your mother. He's really good at selling you now. Lin Bai didn't want to defend her father. She smiled bitterly and said, what I should have thought of is that he treats my mother like this, and he won't have any resentment towards me. We are really difficult sisters. Jiang Yanyan thought that she was also forced by her grandparents to marry a stranger, and patted Lin Bai's shoulder. Lin Bai lowered her eyes. Indeed, she had just looked at the Jiang family, which was 1,000 times better than her family's situation, but still couldn't escape the family alliance. Bye-bye, don't worry. Tomorrow when my dad comes home, I'll tell him to help you. Jiang Yanyan patted Lin Bai's shoulder. Outside the window, a beam of car lights shone in, and both of them looked over at the same time. Jiang Yanyan ran to the window and extended her head to look. My dad is back. Jiang Yanyan turned her head and said with a smile, almost jumping up with joy. My dad has returned, he must have heard about me and rushed back overnight. That's great. Lin Bai's heart also began to rejoice. Let's go, see how he talks to my grandparents. After Jiang Yanyan finished speaking, she put on her shoes and ran downstairs with Lin Bai. That's not good, is it? Lin Bai felt that eavesdropping on others was ultimately not good, and besides, she was just Jiang Yanyan's classmate, just visiting the Jiang family. What are you afraid of? Let's hide next to them, they can't see it. Jiang Yanyan didn't take it seriously and pulled the person to a stop at the corner. She first extended her head to look at the scene in the living room. Chapter 6. Eavesdropping. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Lin Bai felt very uncomfortable behind Jiang Yanyan. She was about to turn back when Jiang Yanyan grabbed her and turned around to give her a shush. Someone has already started talking in the living room. Dad, Mom, I think the marriage between the Bai and Jiang families should be abandoned. The speaker's voice was loud and majestic. My dad is indeed on my side. Jiang Yanyan turned her head excitedly. I, Jiang Haisong, have always been one of them. Besides, this marriage was arranged more than a decade ago and we haven't discussed it yet. I don't want anyone to poke my spine and say that our Jiang family is not trustworthy. That's all for this matter. There's no need to discuss it anymore. I have already given Yan Yan's birth date and 8 characters to the Bai family. The Bai family has set a date, so Yan Yan can marry her. This should be Jiang Yanyan's grandfather, speaking with an unquestionable tone. He's really stubborn. Lin Bai thought to himself. If it were 2 years ago, the child from Baizishan could still be considered, but now everyone knows about his condition. Today, when I was socializing, I heard that he was about to pass away soon. If you let Yan Yan marry him, it's not like being a widow as soon as she gets married. Jiang Jianshan felt a pang of heartache when he thought of Jiang Yanyan's youth. Juishan is just not in good health. What else can you look at the entire Bincheng? Who can compare to him, smart, filial, and sensible? Who doesn't like him, let alone the Bai family's family background? How many prestigious families want to marry their daughters? Your grandmother Bai just wants Yan Yan to marry them early and have a grandson for them, so on. Mom, I know Madame Bai has shown kindness to you, but there are many ways to repay it. For example, we can use our network to find a good doctor for Bincheng, and there is no need to marry Yan Yan. Lin Bai nodded unconsciously upon hearing this, and Jiang Yanyan's mother indeed had a very positive outlook. Humph, what's lacking in the Bai family? There's only one way our family can repay the debt that I've counted and gone. You two don't need to waste any more time here. I've already decided, there's no need to discuss further. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yanyan realized that her grandfather had disregarded her own life and death, and had married her to a sickly young man. Her anger surged and she rushed out. I won't marry even if I die. If you have to marry me, then take my body over. It's just a perfect match for him to marry Bai Jishan to the underworld. Jiang Yanyan's fierce appearance startled everyone in the living room. Lin Bai stood awkwardly in place, without Jiang Yanyan as a barrier in front of her. As long as someone in the living room came slightly towards her, she was completely exposed. In this situation, it would be awkward to say hello. Lin Baijia was about to dig out 3 rooms and 2 living rooms, his whole face twisted, and his face looked more like a dying room, colorful. What's this child talking nonsense about? When Qianwei blamed Jiang Yanyan. She walked over to pull Jiang Yanyan and was momentarily stunned when she saw Lin Bai standing at the corner. Lin Bai awkwardly smiled when Qianwei quickly glanced at Lin Bai and then turned her head. Lin Bai's heart stabilized slightly. Can you say that casually? What's the point of not dying? Do you really want your mom and dad? Who's that over there? Jiang Haisong was old, with sharp eyes. When he saw the skirt exposed in the corner of Lin Bai's wall, his eyebrows furrowed tightly and his eyes were cold. When he asked, he felt angry. Marrying one's granddaughter to someone on the brink of death is a very shameful act, and now it has been overheard by an outsider. Lin Bai awkwardly walked out, her gaze widened, and she saw everyone sitting on the sofa, except for Jiang Yanyan and Mrs. Jiang, looking at her with unfriendly eyes. Jiang Haisong's gaze was the sharpest, and Lin Bai felt uncomfortable being stared at all over. She eavesdropped on family secrets like this and wouldn't really be silenced like in TV dramas. Lin Bai was a bit hesitant, not knowing how to answer. Although he was dragged by Jiang Yanyan to eavesdrop on the corner of the wall, it was ultimately very impolite. Grandpa, why are you so fierce? You scared my classmates. Jiang Yanyan remembered that jumping out like this made Lin Bai very difficult, but her grandfather was very protective and face-saving. She was afraid that Lin Bai would be harassed, so she could only do her best to protect her. It's so late, she's not coming home. What are she doing here? Jiang Haisong snorted in his mouth, very unwelcome to such a young generation who lacks propriety. I heard you're going to sell your granddaughter, I'm so sad. I asked her to come and comfort me. Jiang Yanyan was momentarily angry and directly started to blame her grandfather. Yanyan. Jiang's father Jiang saw Shen Wen Rose drinking at the same time, and his expression became serious. Jiang Yanyan pursed her mouth and snorted in anger. Yanyan, don't you like good-looking boys? Zhuangshan looks like 1 in 100. Except for his poor health, these children are all good ones. Otherwise, your grandfather wouldn't have agreed to this marriage so readily. Grandma Jiang came out to smooth things out. Lin Bai couldn't help but feel relieved. It's over, it's over. Is this something he can listen to? How should it end? Seeing that Jiang Yanyan's grandmother still had to say more, Lin Bai hurriedly said. Grandparents, uncles and aunts, it's late today. I'll go home first. These are not things that one can listen to in the first place. If Jiang Yanyan continues to contradict her elders for herself, she will be even more impolite. Sure enough, Grandma Jiang stopped speaking, and Wen Rose smiled and nodded. Thank you for comforting Yanyan. The people sitting on the sofa remained silent, and Jiang Yanyan tried to hold on to Lin Bai, but was warned by Wen Rose with a slight shake of her head. Lin Bai walked out of the Jiang family door with a scorching gaze across the room. Miss Lin, your key. The driver drove out. Lin Bai breathed a sigh of relief, thanked the driver, and drove home. At this time, the school dormitory had already locked the door, and she had to go home today. The high-end residential areas returning to the Lin family will pass by Bincheng Avenue, and it is almost 1 o'clock by now, and the vehicles in front seem to slowly slow down. Lin Bai glanced at the car navigation and suddenly saw a red blocking sign on the road she was passing by. Real-time road conditions were reported in the chat box by the car owner ahead. Some car owners reported that there was a serious car accident on the road ahead, with 2 cars colliding and causing a serious impact. The life and death inside the car are unknown. Lin Bai breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that it will take at least half an hour for the traffic police to sort out the traffic. The cars on the left and right lanes remained motionless like her, bored and idle. She clicked on the chat box to see what everyone was talking about. At the beginning, the chat box was still discussing the urgent hospitalization of the young master of the Bai family, Bai Zhishan. The screen was filled with gossip about Bai Zhishan, such as the 10-year white moonlight and the open and secret struggles between the two rooms of the Bai family. Bai Zhuoshan, also known as Bai Zhuoshan, has heard his name enough today. Due to Jiang Yanyan's forced marriage, she now has a slight aversion to the name Bai Zhuoshan and is about to withdraw. As the topic on the screen gradually becomes covered by the tragic news of the car accident ahead. Chapter 7. Dad. You are listening at novelfull.audio. People are discussing extensively. It's too tragic, both cars have deformed. I heard someone died on the spot. No way, it's so serious. Gradually, the discussion turned into a lament about the life and death of others. It's so pitiful. Yeah, I really don't know when the accident found you. Lin Bai's mother was injured in a car accident and finally regained her life, but from then on she could only lie in bed. She deeply understands the feeling of being unable to control her life. Sighing, Lin Bai prayed that the casualties would not escalate. Lin Bai is not gossiping. After knowing the general situation, he planned to exit the interface, but then a car owner posted a photo in the group, and Lin Bai fell into an ice cave. The color and license plate of the car in the photo make Lin Bai feel numb. Trembling, Lin Bai opened the picture and prayed that what she saw was not true, but when she saw the extremely familiar license plate number, her mind went blank and her back felt cold. The whole world seemed to be empty for a moment, except for the buzzing sound of the whistle in his ears, and Lin Bai's temples also flickered. No, they almost started arguing this afternoon. Tears filled her eyes, and she tightly closed them, tears rolling down. Lin Bai looked forward to opening her eyes. What she had just seen was an illusion. She opened her eyes again, fixed her gaze, and the crying was blocked in her throat, only emitting a hoarse ah. Yes, she should have run. Her mind began to give her instructions, but what to do? Her whole body couldn't lift any strength, her hands and feet were numb, and her soul and body had already separated. Don't panic, don't panic. Lin Bai comforted herself in her heart, tried to calm herself, clenched her fists, and forcefully opened the car door. She said to herself in her mind. Lin Bai, run, run. She stumbled a few steps at the beginning, almost falling head over head several times. She narrowly controlled it, but her footsteps dared not stop. The driver in front almost immediately saw her. Miss, don't leave the car behind. What's going on? Running like an evil. What happened? Lin Bai turned a deaf ear and quickened her pace, as if her feet had adapted to running and seemed to rush forward wildly. As she got closer, she saw two cars, red and black, colliding together. The two cars had completely lost their original shape and were severely deformed. She finally saw the car clearly, the glass on the back seat was shattered, and there was a person with blood all over their head, leaning against the back seat motionless and uncertain about their life or death. Lin Bai's feet were soft, and he pounced and shouted two words from his throat. Dad. He's Dad. Danger! The traffic police and medical staff handling the traffic accident quickly stopped her with a few people. The scene is currently undergoing rescue operations. Who dares to break into it as soon as they arrive? What will you do if something hits you? Lin Bai's tears welled up as she shouted to the crowd, he's my dad. Ma Yueme woke up from her hospital bed in shock. She remained motionless, tears streaming down the corners of her eyes and falling onto the pillow under her head, hidden in a white embroidered jasmine patterned pillowcase. The dream just now was really scary. Late at night, in the hospital. The red light in the operating room was on, and Lin Bai's white dress was stained with blood. Her hair was disheveled, and her eyes remained motionless, staring at the words, "Surgery in progress." Tang Qiuxia rushed to the hospital and almost fainted when she saw Lin Bai's appearance. If you had promised to marry the Xie family early on, he wouldn't have had to run errands and get sponsorships outside so late, and there wouldn't have been a car accident. Lin Bai felt a commotion in her ear. She had just recovered from her panic and didn't want to pay any attention to Tang Qiuxia. "You're talking," Lin Bai's expression made Tang Qiuxia even more crazy. "I knew you were just like your mother, a broom." When she was a child, she might have felt guilty about being a PUA like Tang Qiuxia, but now, Lin Jingtian's car accident has nothing to do with her, and all the blame lies on her. Moreover, it also insults her mother. Lin Bai never allowed any disrespectful words to be spoken from Tang Qiuxia's mouth towards her mother. Tang Qiuxia, a mistress who climbed up the boss's window, has no right to shout here. Believe it or not, I'll sweep you out tomorrow. Lin Bai sat there looking up, her eyes cold and her voice hoarse. Her whole body was covered in blood, and the blood was dry and black-red. Coupled with her messy hair, her appearance was very terrifying, almost like a Shachi Shura. Tang Qiuxia remembered that when she first entered the Lin family, she deliberately wasted time with Lin Bai. She felt that an 8-year-old child was very easy to handle, but to her surprise, Lin Bai had been pretending to be a ghost for half a month, almost scared to death. Her face turned pale, she tightly closed her mouth and nose, sat on a chair, not daring to move. Lin Bai chuckled with sarcasm at the corner of his mouth. Neither of them spoke, their noses filled with the unique scent of the hospital. It was already late at night, and the red electronic text was still scrolling. Lin Bai was completely lost in drowsiness. At 4 a.m. during the surgery, the electronic lights in the operating room finally went out. The operating room door opened, and Lin Bai did not see Lin Jingtian. Her heart suddenly lifted as she stared at the electronic screen for a long time, her eyes turning sour. She blinked, tears filling her eyes. "Doctor, how is my husband?" Tang Qiuxia rushed over crying and grabbed the sleeve of the doctor who came out from inside. Lin Bai's feet were about to move, but he found them numb and couldn't stand up. "The patient's liver has been severely injured and has not yet been released from danger. We have arranged for him to enter the ICU and observe for 24 hours to see if he can be released from danger. Family members should be mentally prepared." After the doctor finished speaking, there was no other expression on her face. Tang Qiuxia cried again and went to find Lin Jingtian. Lin Bai was the only one left outside the operating room. After her feet were numb, she went to see Lin Jingtian. The ICU family couldn't enter. She stood at the window and looked up to see the once tall man lying in bed, with his head wrapped in white gauze and his body covered in a blanket. He couldn't see his full face, but the doctor's analysis of his condition came to her ears, causing Lin Bai to collapse emotionally. "My parents were once a loving couple that everyone envied, and both of them doted on Lin Bai." Lin Bai felt that she would continue to be so happy. Until Ma Yueme had a car accident, not only did she not save her child inside her belly, but she also became disabled due to serious injuries and could only stay in bed for years. The once loving couple finally revealed their dark fangs. At that time, Lin Jingtian was only in his 30s and persisted for less than 2 years. When Lin Bai was 8 years old, Tang Qiuxia led Lin Yan'an, who was only half a year younger than her, to appear in the Lin family in a grand manner. It turned out that Lin Jingtian had cheated on his little secretary as early as when Ma Yueme was still pregnant with Lin Bai. All the beauty was shattered, and from then on, Lin Bai began a life of wits and bravery with Tang Qiuxia and her son. After so many years, the results were good, and Tang Qiuxia feared her. Although Lin Yan'an scolded her, he didn't dare to offend her easily. Lin Bai only felt desolate. Now, the source of all the tragedies in his family is lying inside, with life and death unknown, and who will clean up the mess he left behind. Chapter 8. Creditors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mississippi. Lin Jingtian's secretary rushed over early in the morning and is now holding a bag of documents, waiting for instructions. He was supposed to accompany Lin Jingtian to the banquet yesterday, but he took a leave due to a last-minute matter at home and escaped unharmed. Lao Qian's injury is severe, and the doctor has informed his family to prepare for the aftermath. Tang Qiuxia can only wipe tears there, he can only report to Lin Bai. Lin Bai was also very sad in her heart. This driver has been in the Lin family for over a decade and has been driving for her father. When she was a child, she often went to pick her up from school. She is very kind. After the traffic police accountability letter is issued, what other requirements do Uncle Qian's family have? As long as they are not excessive, try to meet them as much as possible. Okay, miss. Lin Bai felt even more upset when she saw the secretary's expression on her face. Zhao's secretary, Uncle Qian, and her father worked together for more than 10 years, probably spending more time together than their family. Now, with one death and one injury, leaving Zhao's secretary, it is inevitable that they will be sad and upset. Secretary Zhao, don't be upset. Our family is like this, and we still need your help to take care of the company's affairs. Yesterday, Lin Jingtian asked her to marry a partner because there was a problem with the company's financial chain. Now that Lin Jingtian is lying in the hospital, the company is probably in dire straits. Miss, to be honest with you, the company is really running out of business. If it weren't for this, Mr. Lin wouldn't have run out so late to seek sponsorship. Secretary Zhao furrowed his brows, appearing very embarrassed. In fact, in the past 6 months, there have been people coming to Lin Jingtian's company downstairs every day to ask for debts. It is estimated that once the news of Lin Jingtian's car accident comes out, that group of creditors will definitely be even worse. A few days ago, an investor agreed to invest money, but for some reason, they suddenly backed out yesterday afternoon. Secretary Zhao hesitated to speak. Lin Bai had not changed his clothes yesterday, and the blood on his clothes had dried up. He stood there with a haggard expression. Forget it, the little girl was not easy, so he didn't continue. Lin Bai has been smart since she was young. After thinking about it, she thought it was because she rejected the other party's request to get married that they reneged on it. But will using her lifelong happiness to save the company really succeed? I know, now let's see if we can think of another way. Lin Bai was a bit grateful for Secretary Zhao's hesitant words. She knew he was feeling sorry for her. Miss, would you like to go home first and change into a new outfit to rest well? Don't worry about the hospital and the company. I'll take care of it for you first. Thank you, Secretary Zhao. Lin Bai smiled. If there is anything, remember to call me as soon as possible. Good Tang Chu's car was parked on the road by her. Early this morning, she was scolded by the traffic police on the phone, saying that she had to pay a fine at the traffic police station before she could collect the car. The car was still Tang Chu's, and Lin Bai felt a bit sorry. Leaving the hospital, she took a taxi on the roadside and called Tang Chu. The phone rang for a long time but no one answered. Lin Bai pinched her phone and looked out the window. It was early morning, and everyone on the street was rushing to work, school, or buy groceries. The road is a bit congested, and Lin Bai's heart is even more congested. What did you do? Why do you look so ghostly? Lin Yan'an was having breakfast when Lin Bai walked in and was startled. Lin Bai didn't even glance at her and went upstairs directly. What a devil, so angry early in the morning. Lin Yan'an muttered and chewed on the bread in her mouth, but she didn't dare to provoke Lin Bai again. After all, Lin Bai was covered in red, and she remembered that when she went out, Lin Bai was wearing a white dress. Mom and Dad surprisingly stayed up all night, but Lin Yan'an didn't think much. After all, every time she asked her parents for their whereabouts, she would always be scolded. Lin Bai raised her head and took a shower at the shower head. Tears mixed with hot water rushed down from the corner of her eyes. She covered her mouth, hugged her exposed self, shrugged her shoulders, and cried uncontrollably. The closest people have encountered unexpected situations, and no one can rely on them. They can only silently bear the burden alone. After taking a shower, Lin Bai went to the first floor and had something to eat. Tang Qiuxia was still in the hospital, and Lin Bai instructed the family nanny to bring necessary items for Lin Jingtian and Tang Qiuxia. It was only then that Lin Yan realized that something had happened at home. She was so scared that her face turned pale, sitting alone in a wheelchair, feeling a bit at a loss. Your mother may not be coming home for a while, so it's best for you to take care of yourself and not cause trouble for your family. After Lin Bai finished speaking, he went straight to the second floor to catch his sleep. It was said to be a sleep supplement, but at first it was just closing his eyes and recuperating. His mind was filled with images of Lin Jingtian's head covered in blood, and tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. The sudden change came too suddenly, and Lin Bai couldn't fully accept this fact. Lin Bai was awakened by the ringing of her phone. She glanced at the clock on the wall, and the time pointer had already arrived at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The phone is from Secretary Zhao. Miss, don't come to the hospital for now. The creditor doesn't know how to know about Mr. Lin's hospitalization, and it's all stuck here now. Secretary Zhao's voice was very urgent, with very noisy voices coming from beside him, and occasionally Tang Qiuxia's screams could be heard. Just as Secretary Zhao finished speaking, he also exclaimed. Secretary Zhao, how are you? Without a response, Lin Bai glanced at the call interface and found that the phone had already been hung up. It seems that the situation in the company is much more serious than Lin Bai had imagined. Although Secretary Zhao told her not to go to the hospital, she was worried that it would affect Lin Jingtian's treatment. She quickly changed into a casual top and pants and went downstairs. Lin Yan was actually not in her room. When she heard the sound on the second floor, she immediately looked over with joy. Lin Bai. Lin Yan saw Lin Bai's clothes and immediately said, "Are you going to the hospital? Can you take me with you?" 2 years ago, Lin Yan fell off a motorcycle with his friends and had his leg amputated. Now, he mostly stays at home and rarely goes out. The hospital is in chaos, so you should stay at home. By the way, when you hear someone knocking on the door, don't open the door to anyone you know or don't know. Dad's company is in trouble, and now creditors are all over the world looking for us. Lin Bai rarely said such long words to Lin Yan. Since Lin Yan arrived at the Lin family, as long as they were at home, they would fight without arguing. Every time Lin Yan was cleaned up, he dared not provoke Lin Bai for several days. So, do they know that Dad is hospitalized? Lin Yan was also very worried in her heart. Her mother only called her in the morning and didn't say much, but she could hear that her mother was crying. Don't ask so many questions, Lu Mama, take care of her. Lin Bai instructed the nanny to carry the things prepared by the nanny and walked out directly. Lin Jingtian may have to stay in the hospital for a long time, so prepare more things. When she was in college, Lin Jingtian bought her a pink car. She rarely drove it because she was angry with Lin Jingtian, but today the situation was special and she didn't think much about it. She drove the car directly and left the community. Chapter 9. Meeting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as Lin Bai entered the hospital lobby, he saw a group of people blocking the entrance of the elevator, making a lot of noise. Repay the money. I can't pretend to be dead now if I don't repay the money. I haven't paid the money yet. As long as I'm not dead, I'll have to pay back every penny and every penny. Even if he dies, let his family pay him back. Lin Bai heard all this from a long distance. The creditors of the Lin family were making a fuss in the hospital, and the 4 or 5 security guards were squeezed apart, helpless and had to protect Secretary Zhao and Tang Qiuxia for now. Tang Qiuxia was clearly frightened and dumbfounded, with a pale face. Secretary Zhao covered her head and did not see any blood, but her face twisted in pain. Lin Bai began to walk towards the crowd. "Look, is that Lin Jingtian's daughter?" I don't know who in the crowd knows Lin Bai and even knows that she is Lin Jingtian's daughter. The person deliberately shouted loudly, and the crowd turned their heads to look in the direction of Lin Bai. "Father repays his son's debt, let's go find her to reason with." I don't know who else said this in the crowd, and everyone started walking in the direction of Lin Bai in a grand manner. Mississippi. Secretary Zhao didn't care if his head had a concussion, and shouted loudly at Lin Bai, "Miss, run." The crowd heard Secretary Zhao's voice and watched as Lin Bai's foot began to pause. One foot turned slightly, as if he was really about to run. In a hurry, everyone started running. Lin Bai was immediately surrounded by a crowd. It was actually Lin Bai's instinctive withdrawal reaction when he saw so many people coming towards him, feeling a bit scared. She was unaware of her actions, which stimulated the group of people. They rushed towards her and not only surrounded her, but the person at the beginning pushed her with their hand, cursing and cursing. "What are you running for? See where you can go." The people behind saw it and directly started pushing and shoving Lin Bai. "You guys, what are you doing?" Lin Bai struggled to stabilize her body, feeling a wave of anger in her heart. Her eyes glared fiercely at the person pushing her. "Hey, this girl dares to stare at us and see if I don't deal with you." That person was stared at by Lin Bai. Many people here pushed her, but she only stared at him. He felt hot in his heart and slapped Lin Bai directly. "Look at your daughter, a creditor, eating and drinking spicy food. If your father dares to owe money, I'll call you stare and stare. The other party started quickly and even pushed Lin Bai several times after finishing the fight. Coupled with the hands and feet of others nearby, Lin Bai couldn't resist quickly. "Stop it." Lin Bai also began to push back in the opposite direction, but as a girl, how could she possibly move the crowd? "You guys, what exactly do you want?" Secretary Zhao covered his head and ran over, stumbling, but he and several security guards were all pushed to the periphery, unable to reach Lin Bai and help her out for a while. Tang Qiuxia only watched from the side, crying, watching Lin Bai being beaten, without lifting her foot at all. Lin Bai is about to be squeezed unconscious. "If you keep doing this, I'll call the police." Lin Bai was pushed and couldn't do anything, so he could only shout out this sentence, hoping to use it to scare this group of people, but he didn't expect it. "Stinky girls, dare to scare us. The police are here, and it's not fair to owe money. MD, you Lin family are such a scoundrel." When Lin Bai heard a man finish saying these words, he didn't know if it was him. Lin Bai received another slap on the face. Buzz. Lin Bai felt a roar in his ears, his eyes turned white, and then half of his face was burning with pain. Why is this side of the face again? Lin Bai felt dizzy in his mind. Seeing her being beaten again, the crowd was shocked and slightly relieved. Lin Bai's head was buzzing, and she couldn't lean anymore. She took several steps back and sat down on the ground. The hospital lobby fell silent for a moment, looking at Lin Bai. Lin Bai sat on the ground, half of the buns he had pricked scattered on the ground, hanging on the half of his face that had been slapped twice. As soon as his hair touched his face, Lin Bai felt a burning pain on his face. Oh no, next month's dance performance, she's probably going to dance with her own pig head. Lin Bai sat on the ground and thought of this. The silence in the hall was too eerie. Not only did the group of creditors remain silent for a moment, but also the people who had been watching the commotion on the side remained silent. Lin Bai's sideburns were disheveled, and his drooping head curiously lifted slightly. In front of him was a pair of white casual shoes resting on the wheelchair pedals. Then, gradually, he saw a pair of long legs, a clean white top, gradually rising up, and finally directly facing a pair of cold and icy eyes. But they were an extremely beautiful pair of eyes, dark and lifelike, with long eyelashes, but those deep and penetrating eyes seemed to suck people in after a long time. Lin Bai forgot the pain on his face and was immediately taken away, his eyes fixed on the handsome face that was so infuriating. Her beautiful apricot eyes looked very disharmonious due to one side of her already swollen face, but it didn't affect her appearance at all. Lin Bai had no idea what he looked like, and in the eyes of the man in front of him, he was very offensive. Bai Zhishan's deep eyes narrowed slightly, and his heart began to show displeasure. He was also a flower addict. He withdrew his cold eyes and looked straight at the group of people who had just besieged this flower addict. "What's going on?" Bai Zhishan asked coldly. Lin Bai was pulled back to his senses by his words and began to slowly observe the people around him. Bai Zhishan asked the crowd a question, but the bodyguard immediately sensed that his young master was unhappy. "Young master, it seems like you're asking for debt." Bai Zhishan was suddenly about to be discharged from the hospital, and Lady Bai was urging her outside. They did not have prior knowledge of the situation in the hall, so when Lin Bai fell without warning, they were also a bit confused. Hospitals are places to save lives and heal injuries, not everyone can act recklessly here. After Bai Zhishan finished speaking, his eyes seemed to glance at Lin Bai, who was still on the ground. Lin Bai felt suffocated for a moment. It was clear that she was the victim. Okay. Why did he say it as if he was specifically referring to her? Cross out the troublemaker and tell the security department not to take all the trash to the hospital in the future. Bai Zhishan sat in a wheelchair, but when he said these words, he had a momentum of 2.8 meters. The group of creditors guessed that this person's identity was not simple, as they looked at Bai Zhishan's attire and the robust bodyguards around him, who were watching them closely. It is only natural for the Lin family to repay their debts. Today is considered lucky for you. Those who are knowledgeable about current affairs are heroes. Let's forget about it today. Someone led the way by saying something, and then the group of creditors cheered and cursed as they walked out of the hospital. "Miss, we have already reported to the police. The troublemakers will soon be dealt with. You'd better see a doctor immediately." The bodyguard who just spoke saw that Lin Bai was still staring at his own boss with a playful expression, and kindly suggested. "Okay, thank you." Lin Bai's face was awkward, and he silently felt regretful in his heart. It really made him feel like he had never seen a man before. Bai Zhishan didn't see Lin Bai anymore, and with the protection of his bodyguards, he walked directly out of the hospital gate. "Lin Bai, are you okay?" Tang Qiuxia regained her senses and was startled to pull Lin Bai over. Although Lin Bai and she have always been at odds in terms of face and heart, she had always played the role of a good stepmother before Zhao Mi wrote it. She was completely unaware that she was the farthest away when it was just dangerous. "It's okay." Lin Bai silently broke free from Tang Qiuxia's hands. Secretary Zhao looked worried and said, "Miss, why don't you go take a look at your face first?" Lin Bai was about to smile at him, but he couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat as he pulled the beaten half of his face. The hospital's general affairs doctor ran over from afar, and they had just heard that Lin Bai was beaten in the hospital, which alarmed the crown prince. They carefully arranged for the doctor to treat Lin Bai and promised to help find the group of troublemakers. Chapter 10. Pressure. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What's going on? The delay has been so long. Lu Xian frowned and asked. Sorry madam, there happened to be someone causing trouble in the hospital lobby, which caused a delay. As soon as Bai Zhishan got on the car, he leaned against the back seat and closed his eyes to rest. It seemed that he didn't intend to answer his mother's questions, so the bodyguard had to answer on his behalf. Lu Xian saw the appearance of Bai Zhishan and knew that he was already impatient. Jiang, if you are suddenly hospitalized and discharged, if you are really uncomfortable, stay a few more days and don't play with your own body. Lu Xian whispered to persuade her that she only had such a son. She was almost scared to death when she heard him suddenly hospitalized again last night. Lu Xian saw that Bai Yin Shan was not planning to speak yet. Although he was a bit angry, he still kept his mouth shut moderately. The front seat bodyguard signaled to the driver to drive, and the low-key car drove out of the hospital gate towards the direction of the Bai family's old house. Today is a family banquet that the Bai family cannot afford to thunder. The doctor said that Lin Bai's slap hit the dental nerve, which is estimated to be swollen for a few days. He prescribed some painkillers for her. Secretary Zhao insisted on the police filing the case, as there were surveillance cameras and numerous eyewitnesses in the hospital lobby. The police quickly helped her file the case, as the group of people had already dispersed by the time she arrived. After helping her keep records, the police said they would notify Lin Bai if there were any results. Lin Bai knew the intentions of Secretary Zhao, at least in the future. Those who demanded debt probably wouldn't dare to come to the hospital to cause trouble, let alone surround and physically attack. Lin Jingtian had not yet escaped the danger of his life. Tang Qiuxia endured for so long and couldn't bear it anymore. She returned to the Lin family first, and Lin Bai stood behind the large glass window behind the ICU, carefully looking inside. The doctors in the sterile ward are always in a hurry. They carefully inspect every instrument and check the patient's signs at any time. For patients who come here, rescue seems to be commonplace. Thinking that they were also trying to save the lives of her father and the King of Hell, my heart felt sad. At this moment, except for life and death, everything in the past seemed to be less important. Lin Jingtian's condition was very bad. Throughout the afternoon, Lin Bai signed 2 critical illness notices in a row. Due to fear, her signature was crooked and twisted. The hospital is not lacking in sympathy. Doctors have no expression on their faces and almost always turn their heads and enter the ICU for rescue after withdrawing the notice. "Miss, why don't you have something to eat first?" Lin Bai wore a swollen face that was even higher, and his hair was just rolled up again, looking really pitiful. "Uncle Zhao, my dad will save it, won't he?" Lin Bai took out the painkillers prescribed by the doctor from his pocket, took one out, and put it directly in his mouth. Secretary Zhao didn't have time to pass her water, so she watched him and swallowed it dry. The pill was slightly bitter, not only to stop the pain on her face, but what she wanted more to stop was the pain in her heart. "Mr. Lin has always been in good health, he will be fine. Everything is still unknown, and he can only say so. My mother did the same thing back then." At that time, Lin Bai was still young. Looking at the white coats coming and going inside, he felt nothing but fear. Unexpectedly, after seeing this scene again for so many years, his heart still only had fear. Secretary Zhao looked up inside and realized that for Mr. Lin, besides his work, he had always been unable to understand his boss. Secretary Zhao came to the Lin family's company to replace Tang Qiuxia, so he was not very familiar with what had happened before Lin Jingtian and the 2 women. He only knew that Lin Jingtian had not divorced the real Mrs. Lin, and Tang Qiuxia had only taken over Mrs. Lin's position and lived in the Lin family for more than a decade. Compared to Tang Qiuxia, he had significantly more contact with the real Mrs. Lin, Ma Yueme. The woman lying in the nursing home was even more pitiful. "Recently, the doctor said that my wife's condition has improved significantly. Miss, don't think too much about it. Mr. Lin has his own destiny and nothing will happen. Lin Bai is about the same age as Secretary Zhao's son, and he can't do anything but try his best to comfort him. I don't know if God received the prayer from Lin Bai and Secretary Zhao." 10 minutes later, the doctor came out and said that Lin Jingtian had snatched it. Lin Bai and Secretary Zhao both breathed a great sigh of relief. Secretary Zhao's phone kept ringing non-stop, and Lin Bai watched as he always got anxious every time he came back from the stairwell. Is the company's affairs very tricky? The group of people who demanded debt dared not come to the hospital to cause trouble and went straight to the company. Now that the shareholders know, they are demanding that the Lin family give an explanation, and they will probably find your family soon. The matter is too big, and Secretary Zhao is just a worker. There is no way to be honest with Lin Bai. Lin Bai frowned. Is the company really without any money? In the past 6 months, Mr. Lin has been demolishing the west wall to repair the east wall, and the company's employees' salaries have not been paid for almost 2 months. Lin Bai thought to herself, it seems that the Lin family is really in a state of decline, but she herself is still a student. Tang Qiuxia can be scared to death by several debtors, and she probably can't stop it. Lin Yan can't even count on it. The Lin family now perfectly interprets what it means to be old, weak, sick, or disabled. If the company were to be sold, Lin Bai suddenly had this idea in her mind, but this company was not only of great significance to Lin Jingtian, but also to Ma Yume, and she couldn't make up her mind for a moment. Selling a company is not something that can be decided in a moment. She suppressed her thoughts, and now the most important thing is for her father to get out of danger. Good news finally arrived. At 8 p.m., the attending doctor told him that Lin Jingtian was temporarily out of danger. If his vital signs were normal the next day, he could be transferred to a regular ward. At this moment, Lin Bai breathed a great sigh of relief, and finally, Lin Jingtian and she both survived. Miss, a few days ago, investors who were interested in investing approached me and said they heard about Mr. Lin's situation and wanted to reconsider their investment. Secretary Zhao happily shared this joy with Lin Bai. Great! Lin Jingtian overcame the danger, and the company began to have good news. After 2 days, things finally began to develop in a positive direction. Looking at Lin Bai's smiling face, Secretary Zhao remembered the other party's request and felt a bit embarrassed. What's wrong? Is there any other problem? Lin Bai saw a flicker in Secretary Zhao's eyes, as if he still had something to say. But he has a condition, he wants to talk to you face-to-face, miss, and the location will be determined by him. Secretary Zhao knows what this boss's proposal means to Lin Bai. Lin Baixing opened her eyes and was smirked with anger. Sure enough, pies wouldn't fall from the sky. I heard that the boss's son fell in love with you at first sight last time and has been feeling restless lately. Secretary Zhao knew that Mr. Lin must have talked to Lin Bai when he returned home, but Lin Bai probably didn't agree, otherwise Lin Jingtian wouldn't have been looking for another more difficult investor in the middle of the night. So when I found out my dad's company was in trouble, he asked me to marry over, the only condition being to help the company get through the difficulties. Secretary Zhao nodded. I understand. Lin Bai nodded and said, Uncle Zhao, no matter what, I won't sell myself like this. Secretary Zhao nodded and went straight to reject the other party.